New Tridents are on the way to Ukraine from Sweden and Denmark. Yes, Sweden and Denmark just bought Ukraine more air defense, and this thing turns Russian drones into confetti with 40 millimeters of Swedish attitude. On February 3rd, Sweden and Denmark announced a joint procurement of Tridon Mk2 air defense systems for Ukraine, valued at 2.6 billion Swedish kroner. Now, Sweden is covering 2.1 billion and Denmark adds roughly 480 to 500 million. The defense ministers pitched it as enough equipment for an anti-aircraft battalion of 1,000 people, with deliveries starting within 3 months. Hey friends, Wes here, and I promise no Swedish chef jokes this time. No, just go back. Swedish Defense Minister Pal Johnson stood next to Denmark's Troels Lund Poulsen and made the core argument simple. Ukraine needs more ways to protect critical infrastructure during a winter where Russia targets energy and heating. That's the right framing. Russia loves to go after transformers, substation, power plants, district heating, and anything else that keeps civilians alive. You know, early in the war, when Russia was striking civilian targets, I wondered if they were completely incompetent with their targeting or just didn't care about striking civilians. Well, now we know they're just assholes. Hitting civilians is cheaper than fighting Ukrainian brigades, and it fits the Kremlin's personality of cruel, lazy, and proud of both. So Ukraine needs more layers, more guns, more short-range systems, more cheap shots that still kill. That's where the Trident Mk2 steps into the fight. So let's talk about the threat environment Trident is walking into. Ukraine deals with mass raids, drones first, cruise missiles mixed in, sometimes ballistic missiles, sometimes decoys, sometimes weird flight paths that try to slip around radar coverage. Russia stacks the deck with volume and timing. It hopes Ukraine runs out of missiles, runs out of patience, and runs out of sleep. And Trident is not some museum piece dragged out of storage. This is a new mobile anti-aircraft artillery system built around a modernized BAE Systems Bofors 40mm gun, mounted on an off-road Scania truck in the Swedish configuration. Now, Sweden's government describes it as a Swedish-made system based on a newly developed version of the Bofors 40mm gun family, with upgrades that include command and control integration and a radar that matters a lot in drone warfare. Now, here's the complication. A lot of people hear anti-aircraft gun and they picture World War II footage. Loud, impressive, not exactly modern. Well, that mental image will get you hurt in 2026 because the core of modern gun-based air defense isn't the gun, it's the ammo. Okay, so what is Trident exactly? Well, it is a mobile, remotely controlled 40mm anti-aircraft artillery system designed to engage drones, cruise missiles, helicopters, and even aircraft. Sweden's government also notes it can provide close protection against threats on land. Think of it as a short-range air defense workhorse that can drive, stop, shoot, relocate, and keep doing that all night. The gun lineage matters here. The Trident concept builds on the Bofors 40mm family. The modern naval variant, Bofors 40 Mk4, is widely described as capable of 300 rounds per minute, with elevation of up to 80 degrees, full traverse, and maximum range around 12.5 kilometers under the right conditions. That doesn't mean you shoot small drones at 12.5 kilometers and call it a day. Real engagement ranges depend on radar detection, target size, weather, clutter, rules of engagement. Yet, that number tells you something important. The gun has reach. It has speed. It has the energy to engage more than just quadcopters. Now, Trident Mk2 is not just a gun on a truck. Sweden's government says the Trident systems for Ukraine are upgraded with command and control systems and Saab Giraffe 1X radar. That's the sensor layer that gives the gun its brain. So let's talk about that radar for a second, because this is where a lot of drone defense lives or dies. Saab describes Giraffe 1X as a lightweight 3D ASA radar designed for sense and warn and short-range air defense. Saab has also stated a detection range of up to 75 kilometers in certain contexts, and it specifically highlights small UAV detection as a design focus for the Giraffe. And Saab slips in a wonderfully specific detail. It can detect a UAV, quote, lighter than a milk carton, as far away as 4 kilometers from the radar. That single sentence tells you of the mindset. This radar was built for the annoying part of modern warfare, the stuff that flies low and tries to blend into ground clutter. Now, pair that radar with a gun that fires smart ammunition. Sweden's government says the package includes large amounts of ammunition, including advanced, pre-fragmented, programmable, proximity-fused ammunition. That's 3P ammunition. It gives you multiple fuse modes in one round. BAE describes the 6-mode programmable approach for its 40mm and 57mm 3P family, where the round can be programmed before firing for different effects against different targets. If you want the practical translation, it's this. Instead of relying on direct hits, you can set the round to burst near the target, spray fragments through the drone's fragile body, and shred it even if your aim is slightly off. Now that matters against drones, but it also matters against cruise missiles, where you care less about a perfect bullseye and more about ripping up control surfaces or sensors or the engine. There's also a logistics side here too. A gun system can carry more shots than a missile launcher carries interceptors, and resupply tends to scale better. No one pretends ammo supply is easy in wartime. It is easier to move pallets of rounds than it is to replace high-end interceptors at the pace Russia tries to force. And Tridon Mk2 was designed with counter-UAS in mind. Industry reporting around its Eurosatory debut described it as a vehicle-agnostic concept built on the mature Bofors 40mm naval gun, with a focus on defeating UAS, plus those integrated day-night sensors and fire control elements. And one more detail that matters for Ukraine: magazine. Some reporting on the land-based Bofors 40 Mark IV configuration describes a ready-to-fire magazine and an additional ring-type magazine that together increase available rounds before reload. That's not sexy, it's survival. Drone raids punish reload pauses. Okay, so how would Ukraine actually use the Tridon Mk2? Well, first, point defense for infrastructure. You put these near power generation nodes, substations, heating plants, and key distribution hubs. You don't park them directly on top of the target. You position them to create overlapping coverage on the likely approach vectors for drones. And then second, convoy and route protection. Russia hits logistics, Ukraine moves ammo, fuel, repair equipment, transformers, and air defense reloads. A mobile gun system can ride shotgun, then dismount into an air defense posture when you stop. Third, gap filling inside layered air defense. Ukraine already uses a mix of Western and Soviet-era systems. Some layers are missile heavy, some are gun heavy. The trick is to save the expensive interceptors and use the guns for what they do best: cheap, fast, repeatable kills against cheap attacks. Fourth, counter recon and counter FPV defense. In certain ground contexts, Sweden explicitly notes Trident can provide close protection against threats on land. That implies it has utility beyond air defense. Now, will Ukraine use it as a direct fire system? Ukraine uses everything it has. The smarter question is whether Ukraine will prioritize its air defense role first, or will it use the Trident in a ground attack role. Imagine being an infantryman in the open when a Trident 40mm Bofors starts firing on your position. Ugh, gives me chills to think about. Although as an infantryman, we are known for being high-velocity projectile interceptors. We can go gaga all day long over the Trident. It's a sexy system, but the real power here is the package: radar, command and control, and programmable ammo. The command and control piece is especially important here because it means Trident doesn't have to hunt alone. It can receive tracks, it can share tracks, it can plug into broader air pictures. That matters because drones and cruise missiles don't arrive politely one at a time in a clean conga line. Russia uses mass. Ukraine has to respond with coordination. And the more Ukraine can treat air defense like a networked fight, the less Russia can win with saturation. So yes, the gun kills the drone, the network decides which drone dies first, and the joint Sweden-Denmark buy signals a few things beyond the hardware. Europe is leaning harder into production capacity. Sweden's government frames this as a way to increase volumes, reduce costs, and deliver systems faster when other countries co-finance. That's how you turn Sweden donates to Sweden and Denmark donates. It's also how you turn aid into endurance. It also reinforces the shift toward gun-based air defense for drones. This war has taught everyone the same lesson. The sky is full of cheap targets, and missile math breaks fast. So lasers, microwave systems, and good old-fashioned guns with projectile bullets. These are the only feasible ways to attack these cheap drone threats. A modern gun with smart ammo is one of the cleanest answers. It doesn't solve every problem, it solves enough problems to keep the grid alive. It also gives Ukraine more flexibility during interceptor shortages, even when a high-end system sits temporarily low on missiles. A gun system can still protect the site against the lower-tier threats. That can keep critical nodes functioning through a raid cycle. It also forces Russia into uglier trade-offs. If drones start dying in clusters around protected infrastructure, Russia can respond by increasing drone volume, changing routes, using more decoys, or shifting to higher-end missiles. All of those options cost Russia money, time, and planning. Now, Russia can print propaganda all day. It can't print competence. So, to put it into plain language, Sweden and Denmark just bought Ukraine a modern Swedish truck that throws programmable 40mm range at Russian drones, backed by a radar built to spot small UAVs, with the best name ever, the Giraffe, and wired into command and control so it can fight as part of a team. Now, Russia will still launch raids. Russia will still aim for civilians. That part never changes because the Kremlin has the emotional range of a rusty shovel. Yet every Trident that arrives tightens the defensive net. It saves interceptor missiles for targets that demand them. It keeps power on. It keeps heat on. It keeps Ukraine functioning through winter. And that's what air defense really is in this war. Not a trophy system, not a press release, not a cool silhouette on a poster. It's a machine that buys Ukrainians another morning where the lights work and the kids wake up alive. That is the whole point. That's it for today, my friends. Subscribing is the best way to keep this channel healthy because without you, an audience that I care about, I would just be here shouting into the void. I think that's what a lot of YouTubers miss about finding success on this platform. When I stand up here and make a video, I'm really just speaking to one single person. Yes, you. I want the information I have downloaded into your brain, and if I can entertain you along the way, then that's a bonus. Ukraine's fight is more important now than it's ever been. And if you've made it this far in the video, I think you care about Ukraine's victory as much as I do. At least more than those viewers who dropped off at the 5-minute mark. And for that, I thank you. And as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.